Scott Semegran was born in Panama of U.S. military parents Mike and Eloise, suffered through his junior high school years during a brief tour in Alabama, but has thankfully spent the rest of his life in Central Texas. He began his writing career the week after graduating from the University of Texas with a degree in English. He is an award-winning author of Sammy and Budgie and Boys, stories about bullies, jobs, and other unpleasant rites of passage from boyhood to manhood. His latest work, To Squeeze a Prairie Dog, an American novel. To Squeeze a Prairie Dog is a slice-of-life kind of story. What was the whole point? What did you want to accomplish with that?
So when I came up with the idea for the story, I wanted to write a story that had a positive ending to it. I wanted to write a story about friendship and camaraderie. I was deeply affected by the 2016 election. There were a lot of things that were kind of stirred up inside of me. I reflected on previous books and the tone of those books, and I really wanted to write something that had a group of really good people that won in the end. That really spoke to me at that particular moment. I also wanted to dive deep into the different characters of the story, what motivated them, but mainly just wanted to have a positive story that was humorous.
So how does To Squeeze a Prairie Dog differ from your previous novels?
So in this book, I really wanted to change the tone from previous books and focus more on the camaraderie and friendship of this story. I liked the hopefulness that I had. I really wanted these characters to win the day in the end. And so I really just focused on that particular tone in this book.
Why is comedy an important part of certainly this work, but your work in general?
I really feel that, that humor is a salve for people. I really think that you can get to the truth through humor, more than just trying to lay out facts or an argument. But I just really like reading books that make you chuckle, that get you that place inside. That has always been my focus in writing, is humor, and that may be from my comic strip background, and thinking of punchlines and things like that. I just really like humor in fiction.
Do you try to be, as an author, more original, or do you work harder to try and just provide what you think the reader might want, or readers out there in general?
Right. I really try to be original in my work as much as possible. I really want to have a strong voice that is my voice, that if someone picks up my book, they can tell that it's Scott Semegran's book. And I really like to have some cleverness in the books that I write, and to come from a different perspective. So I really do not want to give readers what they think they need. I really want to be original with my work.
Do you think you're successful in that?
I think so. I think that most of my work has been well received. I like hearing when people say, I've never would have expected something like that from that book. I just want to be different, so I want to stand out in that particular way.
Do you think someone can be a successful writer if they're not full of passion, either for their subject matter at hand or something else in their life?
Yeah, I think a writer has to have something in them, like all artists do, that taps into emotions in a strong way. I really do. I mean, we're talking about fiction, though, right? I mean, if we're talking about some other genres, I don't think so. But with fiction, per se, I think, yes, there's something that a writer has to be able to really dig down deep and excavate. And they have to feel that deeply. So I think, yes, they'd have to feel things strongly to be a successful writer, for sure.
Did you try to write fiction or nonfiction as a child, or maybe a teenager or preteen, actually put together a story at that age? And what does that say about what you're doing today?
Actually, when I was a little boy, I didn't write fiction, but I was into creating comic strips. And recently, when my mother passed away, I found some comic strips that I created in the 7th grade that were actually published in the school paper. So there were little pencil drawings that I had and the scripts that I wrote for those. And remembered that I was doing that at an early age. And so that was kind of the impetus of me creating things. I actually didn't start writing fiction until I was in my 20s. But I was creating those comic strips at a very early age. So I think they were somewhere of a cross between the comic strip Bloom County, which was big in the 80s, and the Garbage Pail Kids cards. So my comic strip was kind of like an intersection of those two things.
What would literary success look like to you?
So literary success to me has been completing the projects that I've started. If a book comes out the way that I had originally intended, then I feel that that has been a success. There have been years where I've made good money with books, and there have been years where I haven't made any money at all. And the writing aspect of it, the actual creating part, has been the most satisfying to me. So I feel like if I can continue to create books at the level that I want to, that different levels of success will come, whether it's money or fame. But I think the writing part has been the most satisfying to me.
Do you read your book reviews, and how do you react to the good ones and the bad ones?
I'll read them all, and you know, as a younger person, the bad ones were just like a knife in the back, particularly if I felt like they really didn't understand what I was trying to accomplish. I really had a difficult time as a younger writer with bad reviews. Now in this particular stage, I try to absorb them and really look at all the reviews I get as a whole and see if there's anything I can learn from them. If, you know, with previous books where I had them a little closer to my chest when I was creating them, I had a hard time dealing with the bad reviews. I took it real personally. But looking back on them now, these previous books, previous reviews, I actually learned a lot from them, you know, because these are my readers, whether I like it or not. If their reaction's negative, whether I like it or not, I have to try to glean something from that. And they eventually did inform me as a writer and made me think about what was I trying to accomplish and why were they not understanding what I was trying to accomplish. And so that helped me reflect on what it was I was trying to do. Was my attempt at humor at that time not successful? You know, those kind of things. And so eventually they were very helpful. And I read all the reviews, whether they're good or bad, unfortunately, but because I want people to like my work, you know. So, yeah.
So we're going to wrap up the interview with the Austin Living Limits lightning round, which we stole from inside the Actors Studio with
Right.
James Lipton. So I've got 10 questions for you here, starting with, what's your favorite word?
Irascible.
What's your least favorite word?
Micromanagement.
What turns you on?
Traveling with my wife.
What turns you off?
Not being able to write. Those times when you can't create, that really turns me off.
What's your idea of happiness?
Hanging with my kids, hanging with my wife, not working, writing all the time. That's it.
Who's your favorite author?
Right now, probably Michael Chabon. I really like him a lot.
If you could be any character from fiction at any time of the world history, who would it be?
Scott Semegran. I really don't know. Whoever the new character in my next book is, I guess.
What profession other than your own would you like to attempt?
Brewmaster, beer brewmaster.
What profession would you least like to do?
A manager at a retail store. Nope.
And our last question. If heaven exists, when you get to the front desk, what would you like to hear God say to you?
Good job, man.